to speak to you this morning. And just on behalf of the Bishops' Conference and the Council for Catechetics, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for everything you do in Catholic schools. So my role in the Bishops' Conference and with the Council for Catechetics is really to do with curricular content that we develop and provide for Catholic schools, north and south, in primary and post-primary. But a lot of my time over the past couple of years has been taken up with post-primary resources. So I just want to, first of all, give you an overview of a couple of key documents that I think are helpful for you in your role as Catholic teachers and leaders in your schools. What's the vision kind of statement, particularly for Catholic education? And then I'm going to go into some resources. I speak mostly about Credible Catholic, but my idea is really to present with you a kind of smorgasbord of different resources for non-exam ORI that you can use. So just key documents. This is our website, religiouseducation.ie. If you go to the post-primary tab, also under resources and documents, and you'll find here a number of guidance documents, policy documents, which can be downloaded as PDFs. So choosing a textbooks for junior cycle religious education. There's also a link to Credible Catholic and to a few other resources. And we also have a YouTube channel where we've presented webinars on religious education and faith formation. People say to me, what's the vision? What's the roadmap for Catholic education? And I point them to two key documents, which we know aren't as well known as they should be. So the first is Share the Good News, the National Directory for Catechesis in Ireland. This is really the roadmap. And I'd like to draw your attention particularly to chapters 4 and 5, particularly chapter 5 for Catholic religious education in school. So this is really kind of best practices, and it's available as a free PDF on our website. The second one is the vision statement for Catholic education, Vision 08, a vision for Catholic education. So what's the grand vision? It's a fantastic document, and it's also available to download as a PDF from our website. So that's kind of the big picture, kind of vision, roadmap, best practices. So that's going to be very helpful for you for your role. Now, moving on to religious resources for religious education in Catholic schools. Rita mentioned Credible Catholic. This was developed in the United States by a physicist, Dr. Robert Spitzer, SJ. He leads the Magus Center in California, and they approached the Bishops' Conference a few years ago to see whether we'd like to adapt this resource for schools. And we spent quite a bit of time, Kate Liffey, my predecessor in this role, and Dr. Tom Finnegan from Mary Immaculate College, Limerick. They adapted it for the Irish context, and we launched it in 2022. So it's a resource for senior cycle non-exam ORI. And the approach is very much through faith and science, because as Catholics, we believe that faith and reason are compatible. So it's really approaching faith through the lens of science. And that's what Robert Spitzer's background is. He's a PhD in physics. So it's very exciting. It's a very exciting program. It's divided into 7 modules. There's 40-minute lessons. They can be extended up to 1 hour. So you have evidence of a spiritual soul. That's module 1. So that looks into what's the science for a spiritual soul. Particularly, there's a lot of data from near-death experiences. You may have heard of these phenomena. They're widespread, and there's a lot of research that has been carried out on these so-called near-death experiences. So that looks at the spiritual soul, then God and contemporary science, philosophy, God, and biblical interpretation, the evidence for Jesus and his divinity. Don't know if you've heard, but there's new research that just came out, I think a couple of months ago, about the Shroud of Turin, that scientists have confirmed now that it is a first century burial shroud. They've done pollen analysis from the shroud that links us to Palestine. So there's a lot of really exciting new discoveries that are coming out in terms of science and archaeology, faith. The National Geographic did a restoration of the site of Jesus' resurrection in Jerusalem in the Holy Sepulchre, and they found the original cave wall from the site of Jesus' resurrection. So a lot of these very exciting discoveries that kind of delves into that. So particularly the Shroud of Turin is fascinating. Then we have Church and Jesus, True Happiness. So that also looks at philosophic ideas of true happiness, and I'll give a sample lesson from that, and then Suffering and Evil. So that's kind of an overview of the 7 modules. So this gives you a sense of, say, learning outcomes. So for God and contemporary science, these are learning outcomes, and there's also a sample scheme for teachers in how you can structure the modules, and I'll show you that in a second. So the methodology is very much there's an opening prayer that can be adapted. There's the learning outcomes for each module. There's pair and share. There's discussion, and then it can be adapted up to 1 hour. 1 hour. So I'm just going to switch to where you can access this resource and some of the guidance that is provided for teachers in terms of how best to use this resource. Okay, so it's available on the Catholic Education Partnership website, which is catholiceducation.ie. So if you go to the resources tab here, click down to post-primary and then to Credible Catholic, and then go down. And this resource materials, these are critical for you as teachers. So you have the sample scheme of work using the Credible Catholic that breaks it down into different terms. And if you see here, if you click on the teacher guide, this tells you about the program, the approach. So how does it fit with Catholic schools in living out ethos? It also shows how it builds on the junior cycle religious education, particularly in terms of skills. So if you go down here, kind of key skills, and how it's in alignment with the NCCA specifications. So that's really, really useful resource for you. So then if you go down, you have the introductory lesson, and then you have each of the modules. So you basically just click on that. It downloads onto your computer, and then it's basically plug in and play. So there are PowerPoints with embedded videos, and I'll get up the module 6 just to give you an idea of one of the lessons. Okay, sorry, I need to get out of that. Okay, they should be good to go now. Okay, so this is module 6 on true happiness. So you're an opening prayer. This is lesson 1. So learning outcomes for this module, and you'll see here you have teacher notes at the bottom of the slide. So you'll have kind of guidance, various teaching, and these can be adapted. So all of these, I believe the PowerPoints are flexible, so you can edit, and you can adapt as you see fit. So then you have discussion, class discussion, and then the content of the lesson. So this is on happiness. It's what's Aristotle's kind of idea of happiness. So it also uses ancient philosophy and more contemporary thinkers as well. So it's talking about 4 levels of happiness in terms of Aristotle calls fulfillment. You could say, talks about desires. What kind of desires do we have, and how do we fulfill these desires? So there's 4 kinds of desires, and then goes through pleasure, material goods. So second is ego comparative. The third is contributive desires. And the fourth are transcendental desires. So we all have these desires. And then there's short videos, then discussion of the video content, kind of a recap on the main points from lesson 1, and then a final discussion. So that's just first level. And talking to my wife last night, I wish we had this content when we were 16 to 18-year-olds. It would have been very, very useful. And the content, as you can see, it's very rich, and it's well produced. Okay. So can you see my current slide on true happiness?
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so that's just a sample of one of the lessons. Now, when we launched this program in 2022, Kate Liffey and Dr. Tom Finnegan, they kind of gave a walkthrough of the entire program. So these PowerPoint slides will be shared with you after today. And if you just go to 20 minutes in, Kate and Dr. Tom, there's a full walkthrough of the program, just so you get a better sense of the program. Just mentioning briefly about a few other resources that are available. The only approved textbook for junior cycle religious education is Soul Seekers. So just to bring your attention to that. There's also a transition year resource called Look Up. It's a digital program, but also with workbooks. I really like UCAT. There's a website, and they have a few fantastic books. One is UCAT, so the Youth Catechism. It's suitable to use in schools and for teenagers. There's also groups throughout the country for adult faith formation that use UCAT. And then the follow-up to that is what's called DUCAT, which is basically social justice and Catholic social teaching. So how can you apply the faith, and in terms of various projects? So that's a great kind of manual. And then the UCAT for kids, that's also suitable for teenagers, and can be used in schools. Then there's many of you will know of the Camino de Santiago, the Way of St. James, and there's local pilgrimage sites throughout the country as well. There's a new 8-part episode documentary, well, not documentary, but resource really for schools. The Way of St. James. They're available on YouTube. They're short videos, very, very well produced, on the idea of Camino and the Way of St. James. So these can be used for non-exam RE classes. And also, I'm a big proponent of getting out there, and particularly in Munster, you have the St. Declan's Way from Cashel to Ardmore. So giving that kind of tangential experience of pilgrimage to your students. This could be a really nice supplement to that in the classroom. Um, and then this is from the producers of Nua Films, based in Ireland. So they have ones for Easter, for Christmas, and then the one fresh perspective that's suitable for 15 years and plus. So many of you will already be familiar with Nua material. Then Veritas launched another resource for senior cycle non-exam RE. It's a digital online resource. They planned, I think it's 9 or 10 modules, and they developed it basically by sending out surveys to teachers. What are they looking for? What are the gaps? And they developed a resource based on that. So I think the first module is on the idea of the hero's journey by Joseph Campbell. There's another module on art and faith. And just to give you a sample of, they have one module on sustainability, climate change. So coming from Pope Francis's Laudato Si. And I'll just give you an idea of how it looks like. Yeah, so it's you have learning goals, faith goals, you have icebreaker, and it's very eye-catching. So designed as a kind of a journey through the various modules, again with embedded videos and learning activities. Again, very much driven by Pope Francis's Laudato Si encyclical. That's a link to that sample lesson. Now, many of you may already be aware of The Chosen, but if not, I just want to bring your attention to it. I think it's one of the most exciting initiatives in recent years. I think it got the most crowdfunding for any project ever. So it's all crowdfunded. So it's a mini series based on Jesus, and particularly his relationship with those he calls, particularly the apostles. So I think there's 7 seasons planned. Again, it's a very good way of using this material for non-exam, or particularly if you want to combine it with scripture, and it's very faithful to the Bible. But it's available on the Chosen TV online, and again they have like specials on, say, the Christmas story, which is you can use different times. So that's a fantastic resource, and again, particularly for students that have learning difficulties or struggling, that this could be a very good way of introducing them to some of the Bible stories. Now, just finally, I just want to bring your attention to some SPHE resources. There's been a lot of news about this lately. And we developed a SPH resource for junior cycle that's in alignment with the NCCA specifications, but suitable to use in Catholic schools. So that's available also on catholiceducation.ie. So this is kind of a sample of like the first year resources. Again, it's free. They're PowerPoints with embedded videos. There's teacher notes in it, so it can be used and adapted. And we're currently developing the follow-up to this for senior cycle, which is due to be launched in September 2025. So again, it's not a NORI resource, it's an SPHE resource. Some of you may be teaching SPHE, so just to bring your attention to that. Happy to take any questions and to hear from you. Thank you.
Alex, thanks very much for the library of resources. I think we all want to go on the Camino de Santiago walk, though, in Spain, as part of our faith nourishment.
Yes,
that was very interesting.
I'm glad.
And listen, you've given a huge amount of resources, and the links will all be provided. You will share that with me, and I will share those links with the teachers who are here present. Is that okay?
Yes, and just to say to you as well that so one of the things that have come up in the Council for Catechetics is how can we support RE teachers more, particularly in terms of their own faith formation and development. So I have a list of online resources that I can share with you for those teachers who wish to say for CPD, for their own faith formation. There's kind of a list of resources that are available, so I can send those to you as well.
And that's one of the requests that we had today, was for resources for, as it were, filling their own faith well. Can I just ask if anybody here would like to ask you a question? So Alex, I'll just be back. Is there anybody who would like to ask Alex a question? Do you plan to have any face-to-face meetings with RE teachers on Share the Good News program?
I can certainly do that. In a way, that was launched in 2010, and it's still operative in terms of the roadmap. But we did do a series of webinars on, there's a new directory for catechesis that was published in 2020. And if you go to our website and click on the YouTube link, there's a webinar series on this new directory. And particularly there's one video that Siobhan O'Donoghue did from one of the Loreto schools on working with young people in terms of faith. But there's a series of talks based on this. So the feeling now is that this document, which was published by the Vatican in 2020, that has kind of superseded Share the Good News, but Share the Good News is still a very helpful resource to use. And what I've done before, that you could only buy the book in Veritas, but I've made it available as a free PDF. So if you go, it used to be €20, you'd have to, buy it a hard copy. So that's why I wanted to make sure it was more widely disseminated. So I've made it freely available as a PDF online document. So it's pretty much, you can just download it and particularly check out chapter 5.
And you will send us a link, Alex, for that.
I'll do
You'll
that.
include it.
Yeah.
Alex, thanks a million. We really do appreciate your input today and the library of resources that you will be providing all the RE teachers here with today. So thank you very much.
And I'll just say, reset that if they have any feedback on Credible Catholic, because we're probably going to be revising it in the next couple of years, they can email me. Any feedback would be very much appreciated.
And you've all heard that. Alex will be very happy to have your feedback. I've looked at it myself and I've given him my feedback at that dinner table at the conference. And, pardon? His email is on the slides. So we will be sharing your slides, Alex, with the teachers, and your email is on it.
Great. Thanks so much, Rita. Thanks, everyone.
And it's their coffee time, so we're sticking very much to our schedule.
Great. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thanks a million.
Bye.
Thanks a million.
On.